breaking news on a late Sunday night. 9-time Pro Bowler, former Super Bowl champion Russell Wilson planning to sign with the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Now you get Russell Wilson in there, you have just put yourself in position to compete for a Super Bowl, point blank, period.
What's up, Steeler Nation? Just signed, baby. Fired up to wear the black and gold. Here we go.
As highs and lows go in professional careers, it doesn't get much more dramatic than Russell Wilson's. The former Super Bowl winning quarterback signed a shiny new $242 million contract in Denver and was labeled their savior, only to bomb out and become the laughingstock of the league.
Was this trade the worst in NFL history?
Christine, it pains me to say this, but I'm going to say yes. But it is not Russell's fault. It's the Broncos' fault.
Well, buckle up, people. The Russell Wilson roller coaster ride has just fueled up for another run.
If Russ plays well, these yinzers will go to bat for this guy for the rest of his life, which I think is a good thing for Russ. If he plays terrible, these yinzers are going to get real loud and obnoxious. Yeah. Probably the worst that he's ever heard, if I had to guess.
I believe that his move to Pittsburgh wasn't only a genius move, but one that can absolutely save his career. The Russell Wilson tenure in Denver was in some way doomed from the get-go. The Nathaniel Hackett experience was a painful one for everyone involved, with the former Green Bay Packer offensive coordinator being exposed as someone who only made it that far because of his association with Aaron Rodgers.
Jeez, what did this guy do in a dark room looking at film with Aaron Rodgers for 5 years? Zig and zag and that, zag and this, play that. Did you learn how to coach a football game?
This theory has been backed up after another head-scratching season in New York, where the Jets offense looked completely lost and hopeless without Rodgers. Hackett could do very little to right the ship, which is consistent with how he fumbled his opportunity to run the show in Denver. Russell Wilson was not guilt-free for the disastrous 2022 season in Denver, though.
Nathaniel Hackett brought a lot of this on himself. Russell Wilson, oh my God, you literally got somebody fired. A guy who we were considering, and I can't, with this type of a season, and I'm making this more about Russ than Nathaniel Hackett, there's no way I can say this is a Hall of Fame player.
But in his defense, Hackett didn't exactly set that offense up for success. The arrival of Sean Payton in 2023 brought with it great hope for Denver fans, but the partnership between him and Russell Wilson never seemed to align very well. Payton made a living and won a Super Bowl with Drew Brees under center, who was a sharp quarterback who delivered his passes quickly and accurately. Just to back that up too, Brees' 2.5 seconds to throw was amongst the quickest in the league, whereas Russell Wilson's 3.07 seconds last year places him amongst the slowest in the league. With Sean Payton as head coach, Wilson did improve to complete 66% of his passes for 3,070 yards and 26 touchdowns with just 8 interceptions, but it still didn't just feel quite right. Payton was hiding Wilson for much of the year, keeping a hold of the reins and avoiding putting any faith in his $242 million quarterback. And the result was plenty of frustration from the former Super Bowl winning head coach. So it should come as no surprise that the first year of him in Denver has resulted in Russell Wilson being shown the door. Like, it honestly just was never really meant to be. Russell Wilson found himself in an awful Hackett-led system before spending another year with a head coach who clearly did not want him. Consequently, he was one of the worst quarterbacks in the league over the 2 years in Denver and will go down as one of the worst trades in NFL history.
The players, not just the amount of players that they gave up, the amount of draft picks that they gave up. Then they turn around and give the man an extension. And now, a year later, we're looking at it like, okay, we don't want you to play for us. That is why, to me, bigger than Herschel Walker, but bigger than anything else, they are literally putting them in salary cap hell just to say, Russell, you ain't it.
All of that can be true, but it doesn't change the fact that Russell Wilson is a Super Bowl winning quarterback with 9 Pro Bowls to his name. Just 3 years ago, he topped 4,000 passing yards and 40 touchdowns, also notching a useful 3,113 yards, 25 touchdowns, and just 6 interceptions in 2021, which was his last year as a Seahawk. And now don't get me wrong, when you compare him to his glory days in Seattle to now, he is truly a different player than he was then, but he still is good. Like, I mean, you can't blame the guy for the situation that he found himself in once he got to Denver. And on tape, there have been some good flashes of him while he was in Denver. Now, yes, I get many people probably are rolling their eyes about him going to Pittsburgh on a vet minimum, but honestly, I think it could be a stroke of genius and could revive his career. And not only that, but I think it could be a great way to end his final chapter in the NFL. Like, look, the Pittsburgh Steelers have been a popular projected landing spot for Russell Wilson ever since the days of Big Ben Roethlisberger. They've been stumbling around in quarterback purgatory, bad enough to make their fans miserable and just about good enough to never be in the position to draft their new future of the franchise. Like, the list of names from Kenny Pickett, Mason Rudolph, and Mitchell Trubisky have all had a go at the job, but none of them have convinced Mike Tomlin that they are the future. Pickett seemed like the most likely savior after he was picked with the 20th pick of the 2022 NFL Draft. He was flawless in preseason action, filling Steeler Nation with hope, only to deliver just 6 touchdowns and 4 interceptions in the 12 games he played in the 2023 regular season. Like, I mean, hell, even after the preseason, I had friends saying that they were possibly Super Bowl contenders. And look, for as disappointing as Russell Wilson was in Denver, he is a completely different quality of quarterback than the Steelers have had in the past.
3 Steelers quarterbacks that played had 16 total touchdowns. So I'm going to leave it right there before I even talk about Russ's 29 touchdowns. But with them 16 touchdowns, they still was in the playoffs.
He is a great fit in the vertical passing offense, potentially holding the keys to unlock the untapped potential that everyone has been desperate to see from George Pickens. Russell Wilson has maintained his position as an elite deep ball passer over the last 2 years. His 2023 NFL season produced a PFF grade of 92.3% on passes beyond 20 yards, which is among the best in the NFL. George Pickens passed 1,000 yards for the first time last year, and his ceiling has definitely increased with the arrival of Wilson. Pickens averaged 18.1 yards per reception, doing a lot of his work downfield. This is the ideal skill set to pair with Russell Wilson. And look, the decision to trade away Deontay Johnson also shows how committed the Steelers are to Pickens. This is allowing them to free up more targets for him to be properly unleashed in 2024. Like, look back at 2023. Wilson's favorite target was Courtland Sutton, who caught 10 touchdowns across the season. He and Wilson had a fantastic partnership on deep passes and in the red zone, which is something that should excite George Pickens. The third-year receiver for the Steelers is far more explosive than Sutton, posing much more of a danger to the secondary and adding a home run threat to every single play. In addition to benefiting from the speed and athleticism of George Pickens, Russell Wilson is also stepping into one of the best running back rooms in the NFL. The power of Najee Harris combined with the explosiveness of Jaylen Warren offers up one of the best 1-2 punches in the league, reducing the workload on Wilson and increasing the opportunities for play action success. Letting the running backs do most of the heavy lifting before unflurrying a deep play action pass to George Pickens sounds like a promising blueprint for the 2024 Steelers. It also sounds like a game plan that is familiar to the Steelers' new offensive coordinator, Arthur Smith. Prior to representing the black and gold of Pittsburgh, Smith spent 3 years as the head coach of the Atlanta Falcons, who were driven by a talented offensive line and dominant run game. With far inferior quarterbacks under center, Arthur Smith and the Falcons called a play-action pass on 32% of their dropbacks. In comparison, Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs only called play action on 17% of their dropbacks. This information makes the signing of Russell Wilson make even more sense. The blueprint has clearly been laid out. Arthur Smith and Russell Wilson have been brought in, and Deontay Johnson has been shipped out, paving the way for play action in a vertical passing scheme based around George Pickens. And I don't know about you, but to me, that sounds like it's a much more exciting Steelers offense than that of what they had with Kenny Pickett last year. Arthur Smith's name quickly rose to prominence in the NFL after he helped Ryan Tannehill, of all quarterbacks, produce 2 fantastic seasons in Tennessee. After fading to irrelevancy in Miami, Tannehill moved to the Tennessee Titans and passed for 6,561 yards and 55 touchdowns in his first first 2 years as a Titan. He also threw 13 interceptions across those 2 seasons after throwing at least 12 interceptions in every single season as a Dolphin. Like, the fact that Smith was able to turn Ryan Tannehill from a quarterback that didn't even know what he looked like he was doing in Miami to a quarterback that could lead the Titans to the playoffs for 3 seasons, that says enough about the coach in general. And now Steeler fans are praying that he can do the exact same thing with Russell Wilson. And I mean, with his track record, why wouldn't he be able to? Wilson clearly still has the arm talent, proven by the fact that he was one of the league's best deep passers last year. In 2024, Wilson will still only be entering the season as a 35-year-old quarterback, meaning that there is still plenty of time for him to get back on track and deliver another period of high-level play. I mean, just look at Carson Palmer, who experienced a mid-career wobble before becoming a Pro Bowl player again in the right system in Arizona later in his career. If Wilson can forget about his nightmare experience in Denver and slot into this much improved situation in Pittsburgh, this could be a career-saving match made in heaven for Wilson and Steeler Nation. The former Seahawks quarterback will bring some much-needed veteran experience to a young and talented offense. He can provide maturity and competence at the position for the first time since Big Ben, which might be all they need given how effective Mike Tomlin is as a head coach. Like, it's crazy to say this, but Tomlin has currently enjoyed 17 winning seasons in a row, which is a new record for a head coach to start their career. This feat is even more impressive when you consider who he has had lining up under center for him over the recent years. Scraping out a 9-win season with Pickett in 2022 and then improving to a 10-win season with a combo of Pickett, Rudolph, and Trubisky in 2023 is a true testament to how talented Tomlin is. One of the reasons why he has been able to do this is because of an elite defense that has been a top 10 team when it comes to points conceded in each of the last 2 seasons. With the Steelers' main defensive weapons coming back in 2024 and Mike Tomlin still in post, the signing of Russell Wilson could be just what they need to finally convert this incredible streak into a deep playoff run. Like, we all know what TJ Watt and company will deliver, and the arrival of Russell Wilson should free up an offense that has been handicapped in recent years. Now look, you're probably going to look at me crazy when I say this, but if Russell Wilson can be the mature head that this offense needs, I honestly think that the Steelers could be potential AFC contenders and hell, even Super Bowl contenders. With Najee Harris passing 1,000 yards last year, Jaylen Warren averaging over 5.3 yards per carry, and George Pickens primed for a breakout year with Russell Wilson, the 2024 edition of the Steelers could be a very exciting team to watch. By moving to the Steelers, Russell Wilson has saved his career and opened up a new Super Bowl window for a team that even the most optimistic Steeler fans didn't even know existed. But I want to know what you guys think. How far do the 2024 Steelers make it next year? Let me know down in the comment section below, and as always, I will catch you guys in the next one.